You know, the interesting thing about Blue Ribbon Blues is the pattern that it continues from the previous episodes. And after the travesty that is Wrinkle Rough Gals, I think this show could use a better pattern. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want every episode to be about Blossom, but it's nice to see her getting the attention that the other girls were getting. We start the episode by explaining the scenario with light exposition. But they do make sure to provide me a new face for my meme collection. I don't know, I feel like there's some kind of orgasm joke in there. Maybe. Anyway, some important science dude is showing up for the science fair of Sciencey Science. But we also get something from Buttercup and Bubbles that sounds like a complete and utter conspiracy theory, to the point where I think while talking about it, they just randomly turn into Scully and Mulder for no reason. So, considering it's that off the wall, there's no way it could be in any way relevant to the plot. After all, it's not like ghosts actually... Oh. Yeah, considering this comes right after an episode where they fight ghosts, and one where Buttercup and Bubbles happen to be in the right, it seems kinda silly for Blossom to think they couldn't be onto something, since she knows that the supernatural exists. However, there's a couple of reasons why this is really only a minor complaint. The first thing is that Blossom can certainly be skeptical of this particular ghost, even if she knows that other ghosts happen to exist. The second reason is, Blossom's learned more than you think. So the scientist comes in, and that's not actually the scientist. Yeah, sorry to spoil the twist for everybody, but, there are certain indicators that already tell you that something is up. It's easy to get fooled by some of these, but one of them almost directly tells you exactly what is going on. First, notice how his arms are almost always in front of him, bent an elbow when he's not using them. This is a really subtle indication that he doesn't really know what to do with his arms because he's used to having them occupied in a different way. Perhaps by being on the ground? Next, he can't remember his own name or his body of work. That's always a sign that your character is a body snatcher. There's a couple of other indications, but those are the ones I'm going to touch on for now. Let's just move forward. Anyway, he's famous for his transmutation ray, which can splice the DNA of two organisms together as shown with fruit. And as you can probably guess, this concept is important to the as of yet to be revealed villain's plan. Buttercup and Bubbles are going to do their science fair project on Ghost Horse. And we've got another meme face from Blossom. I don't know what to say about this. It's just art. 10 out of 10. 20 out of 20. So, the science man wants Blossom to make a transmutation ray that will work on humans for her project. And it's worth noting that Blossom considers the correct scientific ethics of the situation, and the fake scientist, just dismisses them. This is yet another indication that who Blossom's actually talking to has ill intentions, and Jesus fucking Christ, am I going to have an actual complaint about this episode at any point? At the science fair, Buttercup and Bubbles apparently tracked hoofprints from the boiler room to Dr. Kensington's office. And I'd like to know that he panics a little bit when questioned before Blossom steps in. Although, I would like to ask, why are Buttercup and Bubbles dressed like the Men in Black? Is it actually an alien horse? Wait a minute. Holy fucking shit, is Billy from the Gravitfell! Blossom succeeds in creating a transmutation ray that would work on humans, and took. You see, that janitor that Buttercup and Bubbles pointed out was missing? He's a centaur. That's right! The arm thing was actually very relevant to figuring out what the actual solution was, even though it doesn't really make any sense, because those would be the arms of the dude half of the centaur and not the arms of the horse half of the centaur. Whatever. It's Ghost Horse is actually the janitor. He's going to turn everyone into half animals.
Why didn't you just have me build a machine to make you human again?
Hey, I'm supposed to be the one pointing out the plot holes here. I'ma be. Really? Of all the B jokes, that's the one we're going with? Nah, I'm done with this shit. As it turns out, Blossom made a device to reverse the effects of the transmutation ray just in case, so... And the day is saved! Buttercup and Bubbles win the science fair, by the way. It feels like these reviews are getting shorter, but that's honestly because the divide between a really good episode and a really bad episode is becoming much more clear. And honestly, I'd say that this episode is close to being on par with the original series for me. Of course, part of that comes down to the fact that a lot of the humor in this episode was exactly my style. A lot of it was presented in passing.
Cold fusion?
No thanks, I already ate.
And there were touches that pointed out what was going to happen. I'm not going to get onto the twist for being a little bit predictable. I mean, after all, it is a kid's show. It needs to be a little bit obvious or else it's going to go over a kid's head. However, I can honestly say that I feel like I would have enjoyed this as a kid, and I certainly can appreciate the wit it provides now.